Hey guys, Brian Fisher with Edge Fitness. I hope your week's been going great, and hopefully this can be something that helps it to go even better for the rest of the day and the rest of this week, and just, well, maybe for the rest of the year. Because as we're getting into February now, kind of coming up onto the middle of that, it's pretty stinking cold here in Iowa, Cedar Rapids area where we are at, and yeah, if you're here too, we are just loving this cold weather, and it drains on your mindset. And it's been talking to people about, it's been harder for them to get up in the morning and get to the gym, go out of the house because, well, it's really cold and we're still in a pandemic, even as things are, we're starting to see some improvements. We're starting to see signs of things getting better. And, we're not going back to the old ways, to our normal. We're going to find a new normal, whatever that is, again, and it gives us that opportunity to, kind of take control, maybe set what that's going to look like. But when we have these periods of time where our mindset really just kind of gets drained, and it's easy to fall into a negative pattern, into some negative habits, maybe even just for a period of time. That's why we really like to say, don't hit pause, dial up, dial down as needed. Maybe you have something going on and it's just harder for you to get to the gym. Okay, well, I know in the pandemic when we first started, we had a lot of at-home stuff. People were real excited about doing that, at least, well, relatively speaking, but it gives you an opportunity to still do something. Maybe it's harder to do that this time around because, well, now you got the cold weather and we've been doing this for close to a year now. We're coming up on quarantining, pandemic, and all that we're just getting tired of hearing about. We want to get back to things. Well, what are you going to be like when you get back to that? What are your habits stacking up to be? Are they stacking up in a negative direction or are they stacking up in a positive direction? Okay? We get to choose that. Those are two very different roads. Those are roads that, maybe we've kind of slipped into some of those negative habits. And maybe just kind of one by one, those dominoes fell. And pretty soon, you stayed up later, so you weren't sleeping as well. And, maybe your nutrition started to slide a little bit, snacking a little bit later in the evenings, not being as focused on your hydration, kind of, caring a little bit less because the stress was stacking up in other ways and you had to prioritize things differently and the stress just wore on you and that domino fell. And then it was, I started off really good on doing some at-home stuff and getting out when the weather was nice and was active there, but then that domino fell and other dominoes kept falling with that. And then pretty soon, those hard habits of getting up at a certain time to do your workouts first thing in the morning before you would have gone to work, well, you're not going anywhere to work. So that habit, that part of your routine was out. So now, well, what was there to get you to get up earlier to get your workout in before you had to go to work? Because you could just go down to your office and home and maybe you had to deal with the kids and things like that. All those things would start to, well, get in the way and start to get you off track. Now, as we're into this for quite a while again, maybe those habits have persisted of, man, how am I going to get back into that routine of going to the gym? Because, well, maybe it's safer if you feel comfortable to do that now. How are you going to get back into that routine? Maybe you're still working at home, so it's harder to go somewhere because you're in such an ingrained habit of not going to the gym and maybe not exercising, but you want to get back into that. You want to get healthier. You know the value of being healthy and being fit. I mean, imagine if you didn't tie your shoes. It's a pretty simple habit that we're in. You tie your shoes because you don't want to be slipping and tripping all over the place because otherwise, well, you're falling on your face a lot more or your shoes aren't staying on. What would happen if you stopped brushing your teeth? Well, even through your mask, people would start being able to smell your bad breath if you did that for very long or for as long as you haven't exercised. Those are daily habits that, they're kind of non-negotiable. You can get away with not tying your shoes, or if you miss not brushing your teeth for a day, it's probably not going to kill you, but you start doing that long term, you're going to see some negative consequences all over the place, from your own health. Your own fitness is going to be affected. Your social life when you're around other people would definitely be affected by that. Exercise, health, fitness, those things have tremendous value. They have a greater purpose to help you do the things that you want and need to do. And when we start to see those dominoes, those habits, positive habits tend to kind of cluster together. if you're someone who goes to the gym, you're probably also someone who pays attention, maybe not perfectly, to what you eat, to your hydration, to having a more positive attitude, and realizing all those benefits that come with that. And that can influence your work, your productivity there, your social life, your life at home with family, friends, kids, all of that. When you start to get out of those habits, you start to see some of those negative effects though. But if you slowly got out of those habits by just kind of unstacking them, taking away some of those trigger behaviors, again, like going to the office and having to be done by a certain time to get there, you can slowly start to stack those back up. You can slowly start to say, you know what, I don't have to go back to the gym every single day, but I'm going to just 1 or 2 days a week, I'm going to get up early and you know what, I'm going to do an at-home workout. Or hey, you know what, I'm going to do some reading. I'm going to do a devotional, or I'm going to, if you want to watch the news, you still can, but I would suggest maybe a more positive direction with that time to help you get back into those positive behaviors, because that negative influence will make you unhappier at the end of the day. Just from watching a couple minutes in the morning of news, you're much more likely to be unhappy at the end of the day. Right? Research. As you go through these positive habits, stacking those back up, what's a small step that you can do today to stack that domino in that positive path? And then put another domino there of, okay, hey, if I'm getting up a little bit earlier, maybe I can do that not just 2 days a week, but 3 days a week. Now that I'm back in the habit there, and pick those days of what works into your schedule, what will help you to be most consistent with that. Right? Maybe it is get out of the house for a little bit of relief from being there all the time, to go to the gym safely and then come back. Stack that domino up. Then all of a sudden it's okay, you know what? I'm going to focus on some hydration. I'm going to get back on track with that. Then I'm going to start making, wherever you feel those nutritional choices, what are you most ready, willing, and able to do? What are some things that maybe you used to do that worked really well that, I can get back to doing that. That's not that difficult. That's kind of low-hanging fruit. I'm going to pick that. And I'm going to eat that low-hanging fruit because, ideally some berries. Those are awesome, great things for you to have. Maybe with some protein after a morning workout. Awesome. Now you're getting back into some good post-workout nutrition, if that was something you did before. And you slowly start to stack those habits back up, and those habits triggered with other behaviors paired with those outcomes, you start to see those small habits turn into big changes. And you can repeat those small steps, and that allows you to be on that more positive path, pulling away from those distractions and those negative habits that maybe you've gotten into. You can choose that, because again, negative behaviors, negative people, those things tend to go together. More positive habits, positive behaviors gravitate and lean towards doing more positive behaviors and seeing more positive influence and a more positive mindset. Okay? Big difference. So hopefully this helps you to maybe get that ball rolling. We're into the new year, obviously. It's, like I said, it's almost halfway through February. We're actually coming up on a day where it's kind of been unofficially termed a gym holiday of sorts, where kind of about that 6-week mark, around the 18th of February, we actually see people, just like that light switch that gets flipped on typically in a new year, where a whole bunch of people just flood gyms everywhere. Not doing it obviously now, and then it's almost like boom, somebody just pulls the plug and they just drain right out. They stop coming because that's not their usual routine. It's not their usual habit. And sometimes with best of intentions, they try to do too much. They stack up all these dominoes right on top of each other. They take this really big domino that is teetering on unstable surfaces, unstable habits. They're not scheduling it in. They're not getting others involved for their movement, their nutrition. They're not focusing on whole foods. They're not getting into portion control and eating mindfully. They're not working with having a set AM and PM routine to help you get 7 to 9 hours of good quality and quantity sleep. They're not doing some daily practices to establish a healthy mindset, such as simply gratitude journaling, such an easy thing, or simple, I should say, thing to do to help you get started on that. Having those base habits, it's kind of like setting your dominoes up on a nice, level, open surface. You've got all that surface to play with. You can go any direction, but you got to make the choice of making those dominoes into the direction you want to go. So you can stack up those habits, get them ready to go, and then they start feeding one into the next, into the next. One positive behavior leads to another, or one negative behavior has led into another. Hopefully you guys can make that choice to get you going on that positive path. It's one thing that you can still do even today to make today better. And what's one thing you can do tomorrow to make tomorrow better? So you can be better than you were today. And then the next day you can say you were better than you were the day before. And you keep doing that one day at a time. And all of a sudden that mindset really changes. Your lifestyle changes. And all the things you want and need to do begin to change, and you start finding that greater purpose within all of this. So make sure you tie your shoes, make sure you brush your teeth, make sure you start making those positive choices in the right direction, and make sure you subscribe and share so you and your family and friends can keep up with all these great habits and tips and resources we try to get you guys set up with. And have a great day. We'll see you next time.